Hello and welcome back to Rule the Game. In this video, I'll show you how to play Dragonkeepers, a game by Menzel for 2 to 4 players, lasts about 20 minutes and is recommended starting at age 8. Now, as you can see, this is the German version of the game. Do not worry, there will be no German language on any of the cards or any of the parts of the game, so you can definitely also watch this video even if you don't speak German. But I can't tell you who's actually going to publish this game because I think as of this recording, there might not be a publisher yet in all of the countries for this game. I hope you're going to get it soon, but you might have to wait a little bit. Now, as with my last video, I'll start with showing you the game objective, then how to play the game, and then I give you some hints for the first game, and last is also for those people who want to set up the game through the video, you have a game setup section at the very end. And you can always skip ahead to different chapters by just clicking on the timeline down here on the bottom, where you should be able to find all these different sections. So let's get started. Dragonkeepers is of course all about dragons while you play it. But funnily enough, when it comes up to the final score, it has nothing to do with the dragons anymore at all. In fact, this could be your final board, and I'm only showing one player here with the central parts here, but this is the player at the end who has collected a bunch of dragons and who also has a bunch of bonuses. And the bonuses are where you get all your points. So during the game, you'll be collecting parts of amulets. Those are these that I have here with a pearl in the middle once you've completed them, as you can see. Always 3 pieces here together build one amulet, and once you have a complete amulet, you'll fill it with a pearl. You won't see during the game how many points you have, but at the end of the game, we'll turn them all around, and then you'll add up all these points from the amulets and the pearls. You will also, or you might have, some points from golden eggs, and there you have the dragons back in there a little bit. 4 points per egg that you're going to get, unless you're one of the players who has the majority of these eggs. Whoever has the majority of the eggs will be able to turn one of them around, which now gives them 16 instead of 4 points. And if people are tied for the majority of the golden eggs, then all of those who are tied will get 1 egg turned around to 16. And then you also have shields in case you were able to put down all 4 kinds of the dragons. You add up all these points here, and whoever has the most points wins. If there's a tie, then, and only then, we will look at how many dragons you actually put down. And the person who has the most dragons in front of them will break the tie and win the game. Dragonkeepers is a turn-based game. On your turn, you get to do 4 actions. 1, you'll pick up 1 to 3 cards from the magic book. You can take either of these cards, but you always just take cards from down here, never from the book. You'll take those cards, you put them in your hand, you then open up the book again to the next card, and you can pull a second and a third card. This is up to you on which side you pick. As you can see, of course, up here, the numbers will change and different cards will come out. You will need to know that on this deck here, where you always see a dragon in the back, there will never be the same color of dragon on this side of the card. Once you've taken your 1 to 3 cards, now you can put down cards according to what your magic book tells you. In this case, the magic book tells you that you can put down 1 red dragon. I actually do have 2 red dragons even, and not just 1. So as my second action after I've picked up cards, I can now change the magic book to something that is more suitable for me than 1 red dragon. So I can take this, you see here on this card, I see that on the back it actually says a 2, which is the 2 that you also see over here. I can put that on the magic book. Technically, I could also put a card on this side now if I wanted to, or I could have just put one here instead of here. I now have 2 red dragons here. This is an optional move. The third action that you do then, once you've either accepted what the magic book tells you, or once you've adjusted it, now you can put down the cards that it says here. 2 red dragons. 2 red dragons. I'll place them in front of me. What you need to know about putting down cards is that there is only one rule. You need to put all your 4 different kinds of dragons next to each other. You will always put down dragons of the same kind on the same deck again, so you will not have more than 1 red deck. Once you put down your second dragon, let's say later on in the game I can put down these blue ones, I put them next to the red one, and then at some point I might even be able to put down my white dragon. As I now have 3 kinds of dragons, these 2 here block this one from getting more dragons. So from now on, I cannot play any further red dragons into my decks. I can only play blue dragons, white dragons, or later a green dragon. So you will be blocking yourself once you put more cards out during the game. However, once you get to all 4 dragons here in front of you, and I think this was the green one, let's say I have this one. Once you have all 4 of them in front of you, you will be able to pick up one of those shields. If you're the first player, you get the shield with the 16, unless it's a 2-player game where this one doesn't exist, but otherwise you get the 16. Second fastest will get 10, and the third fastest will get 6. So this was the third action, putting out your card. Now let's say I did this. I put out these 2 red dragons based on what the book says, and now I get the award for putting out these dragon cards. The award is here always under the number, and it's always a piece of the amulet. In this case, it is this amulet here, which is an amulet with the lowest available number at this point. Currently, there's only a 1 available, so I'll take this one, I'll put it in front of me, I'll put it face down so that people don't see what I actually have there. And then I also get here a shadow dragon, which is over here, this deck that I have over here. I'll take one of those shadow dragons and put it in my hand. The shadow dragon later on can be played as a wild card. You can combine it with other dragons to make it larger groups of dragons. It then assumes the color of the other dragons. So in this case, this would be 3 blue dragons that you could put down. But you can also put it down as the number 6 later on your magic book, in case you at some point have 6 different dragons or 6 dragons of the same color. When you put down the shadow dragon here in the magic book, and you can actually put down 6 cards of one kind, so in this case 6 red ones, should I be able to do this, I get the award of 2 pieces of the amulet. One is, as before, the amulet with the lowest number. Currently that's a 1, but the one with the crown is an amulet piece with the highest number, which is currently a 20. So you would take those 2 and then put them next to your other amulet. Please also note that if you use your shadow dragon to change your book and end up with 6 cards to put down, of course, in the later turn, when a person picks up this card, your shadow dragon is now here on display and can be picked up by whoever wants it. Should you be able to finish an amulet, once you have 3 pieces together, you can now automatically complete the amulet by putting a pearl in the middle. Red pearls are more valuable than blue pearls, so they're usually gone first. So you put them here in the middle, and you'll see later on there's a number on it. It's an 8, 9, 10 for the red ones, and it's I think 3 through 5 for the blue ones. So this is the step 4, where you get the award. Step 5 on your turn is actually not an action for you. Step 5 on your turn is for all the other players. all the other players can now decide if they also have 2 red dragons, do they want to put down those 2 red dragons? If they have 2 red dragons and they want to put down the 2 red dragons, they do so, and they also get exactly the same award that you got. Now, in this case, it will be played in order of turn, so that the second person who puts it down in the order of turn would then take the next, here in that case, the lowest piece of amulet, and the next dragon, and so on, because the number of dragons is limited here, the shadow dragons. If they run out, they run out. And of course here, once the ones are gone, then you can pick up an amulet with a number of 4. Please note that on your turn, the only mandatory thing you have to do is pick up one of those cards here. You don't have to pick up a second or a third card. You don't have to change the magic book. And you don't have to put down any of your cards. However, even if you don't do all these things, if you only pick up one card, once you have forfeit all your other actions because you don't want to do them, then the other players can still check out your magic book and put down whatever your magic book says. The game ends as soon as a certain number of amulets are finished. In a 2-player game, that's 7 amulets. For 3 players, it's 8 amulets, and for 4 players, it's 9 amulets. As soon as the number of amulets has been finished, then the turn gets finished, meaning that all the other players, in case it's you who finished the number of amulets, then the other players still get to also put down dragons according to what the book says. It can even happen that while another player is putting out their dragons based on what you left in the book, that they can finish the game, and after they're done, then the game's over. The end of the game could also be triggered in the very unlikely case that there is only 1 page left on one side of the book. And if that's the case, then as the active player, you can't take any cards anymore on that side of the page. You can only take from the other side. And once you're then done with your turn, and once the other players have also decided if they want to put down more cards, then the game's actually over. Seems very unlikely. I haven't seen it yet. Usually what happens is that the number of amulets has been reached. This is almost everything you have to know about this game. Let me quickly just explain to you also the bonuses so that you know what you're going to get depending on how many cards you put down. If the book shows you that you can put down 1 card and you put down that 1 card, you'll get the lowest number of the amulets plus 1 of those diamonds. Now these diamonds you can use in one of your later turns to get a 4th card instead of just the 1 through 3 that you can take. You get a 4th card. Should you have 2 diamonds though, you cannot get a 5th card. It's only valid for a 4th card. That's the maximum you can get in 1 turn. If your book says you can put down 2 cards and you do so, you still get the lowest number of the amulets here, the 1 in this case, and 1 of those shadow dragons. They're actually called the backlight dragon in German, but I think the shadow dragon makes more sense here. So in any case, you get that shadow dragon, which you take to your hand and can then use as a wild card, or you can use it to put down as a 6 later. Same as for the diamonds, you cannot use the shadow dragon in the same turn where you've just been playing something. If you have the 3 in your book and you play 3 dragons, then you pick up 2 pieces of the amulet, and again from the bottom. For 4, you get 1 piece of the amulet and an egg. And this is how you get to the eggs. That's an important one actually from that perspective. For 5, you get 1 piece of the amulet, but from the top, one with the most points. And for the 6, as I explained before, the highest and the lowest together. And that's how you play Dragonkeepers. Here are a few hints for the first game. During the game, you will have to put down at least 2-3 times larger groups of dragons. And why is that? Because if you put down 4 dragons, you'll get the golden egg, which might give you an advantage if you have a majority at the end of the game. If you put down 5 or 6 dragons, you'll actually get the amulet piece with the highest number. And that's worth so much more than these low numbers down here, the 1s and the 4s. So you need to get a bunch of those. Having said that, you don't want to miss out on being one of the first ones to finish a amulet, because remember, the first 3 players will get one of those red pearls that is worth a lot more than the blue pearls. And if they get enough pieces of the amulet with these pearls by just putting down 1 or 2 cards at a time, they still can get a lot of cards. So try to go for larger groups, but don't hesitate to also put down 1 or 2 dragons if somebody else has actually opened this in the magic book, and you can put it down without it even being your turn. You can still fill up your hand later on with the dragons that you really want. And the longer the game goes, the more dragons you're probably going to have in your hand. And then you can also decide that you use some dragons only to be able to influence the magic book later, so that you can put down these larger groups later on in the game. Also, I suggest you don't worry so much about boxing in one kind of dragons between 2 others, or even having all 4 dragons at the same time, even though that limits your choice later on of the dragons that you can take from the middle. You can still find enough dragons of that 1 or 2 kinds that you still need that are on the outside of your display. And in fact, I personally feel like if you have more kinds of dragons out on display, and you can't place 1 color anymore, you can still use these dragons then to influence the magic book. Because you need some cards to influence the magic book sometimes, because the magic book will not always show what you want it to show. I suggest that you don't put down 2 cards on the magic book at the same time, because that is a waste of your cards. You only pick up 3, and if you need 2 of them to change the magic book, that's a lot of cards that you played right there. So when it's your turn, also try to only take as many cards until the magic book really reveals what you want it to show. And if it does that, then you can play your cards. But in any case, I personally think that by the end of the game, you need to come to 4 different dragon types in front of you at the latest at the end of the game. Because remember, the top shield is 16 points. It's 6 more than the second one is. So that's definitely worth it. And there will be some players who won't even get to 4 dragon types, meaning they can't even pick up a shield. And that's it. That's Dragonkeepers. I hope you enjoyed the video, and you will definitely enjoy the game. If you have comments about how you prefer to play this game and how you win it, or how you enjoy it most, then please put those down below in the comment section. Please also subscribe to my channel, and I'm looking forward to seeing you here again. To set up the game, make sure that you separate the different cards. You have your left-hand side of the magic book, which has a number and some bonus. You have the right-hand side of the magic book that always has a dragon. Then you have the starting cards that have the red bookmark, and then you have the shadow dragons that have a 6. And if you look at the other side, you've got the 11 shadow dragons right there. There are 11 shadow dragons, there are 8 starting cards, and the other 104 cards should be half and half, left and right hand side of the book. We'll put the book in the middle. We'll already take off the first top cards and put them on the bottom of the book. Those will be the cards that you can later on take. The shadow dragons will go on the side, and I'll leave out the starting cards for the moment. I'll bring in the shields, where in the case of a 2-player game, you take away the 16 shield, you don't need it, you just have a 10 and a 6. For 3 or more players, 3 and 4 players, you'll have 16 in there too. You also take here all your eggs, your golden eggs, put them also in the middle. Same with the pearls. The pearls should all be face down so that you don't see the numbers, with the red separated from the blue ones. We then have the diamonds that will go in the middle too. And lastly, we have these parts of amulets where you'll remove 16 of those from the game randomly. So you shuffle them first, you take 16 out if you have a 2-player game. For a 3-player game, you just take out 12. And for a 4-player game, you only take out 8 of them. Once you've done that, once you've removed your 8, you then turn the rest around and you sort them by number. Ta-da! All sorted. Now, last thing to do before we can start the game is you take all the starting cards and you decide who the starting player is. And if this here is the starting player, then this player will get 1 card, this player will get 2 cards, and this player will get 3 cards. The remaining 2 cards will go back in the box. And that's it. We're ready to go.